Welcome. You're tuned into Life is a Sacred Journey. Every week, we bring a new perspective to aging and caregiving. Here is your host, Micheal Pope.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the virtual neighborhood of Life is a Sacred Journey. I am so excited to be with you this Friday morning. We did have a guest that was going to be joining us, but had a family emergency, so it was unable to join us. So you get a pondering earlier in this month. I am blinking my eyes because I have to put eye drops in them. I have cataracts, so they're burning right now. So give me a few minutes and they will get settled. I want to lift up Rebecca Ellis. She is the artist of this mural that you see behind me. It's a 3 pieces of art that were at the California, Nevada conference of the United Methodist Church. I fell in love with it and kept telling Rebecca how much I loved it. And she gifted it to me. She said I could have it. So I asked her if I could use it as a backdrop to Life is a Sacred Journey. And she graciously said yes. It's 3 huge pieces. This is only 1 piece. And so what I'm going to do over the next couple of weeks is put the other 2 pieces up. And you can tell me, we're going to have a little contest. Let's have a contest. Which one you like best. So this one is the middle piece. And then there's 2, a left and a right. So we'll put them up. I'll have the next one up next Friday, and you can tell me if you like that one or the one to the right, to the left, or this one. And that will be our backdrop for the remainder of this calendar year. So join us and let us know what you think. If you are joining us for the first time, I welcome you again to Life is a Sacred Journey. My name is Micheal Pope, and I get the wonderful pleasure of joining you every Friday morning here at 8 a.m. So again, Rebecca Ellis is the artist. Her phone number, she can be reached at 650-868-5884. Or you can contact her at Rebecca Ellis, there's that accent again, artist at gmail.com. All one word, Rebecca Ellis artist@gmail.com. And then she's got stuff at a gallery, the Coastal Arts League Gallery in Half Moon Bay, the Half Moon Bay Coffee Shop, and the redbubble.com. So you can get a hold of Rebecca. And Rebecca, thank you for your incredible artistic eye that you bring to the California, Nevada conference every year. So talk to Rebecca, get some art, support her. Because, I was watching something last night where a young man wanted to be an artist. It was a baking show, actually. I love the baking shows. It's called Is It Cake? They, make stuff like this out of cake. And then, you have to guess, is it cake? These are the kind of shows that I like. At the end of it, he was talking about how he wanted to be an artist and that his parents felt that there was no money in it. And, I get that. I'm a parent. I wanted my kids to, and still do want them to thrive and have good lives. But sometimes our purpose is this. And we should reward people who have this kind of, not me, but the the mural behind me have that kind of eye, because I could probably paint it because I see it now, but I didn't see it in my heart and mind. And so Rebecca and all the other artists out there who need our support by buying their pieces, supporting their work as they continue, whether they be sculptors or poets or dramatic folks in theater, local theater, community theater. So we're going to light our candle today for all those people out there that are artists. And of course, we continue to be thankful for the birth of my grandchild. Yesterday, she was on this planet for a whole week. Isn't that amazing? All right. So you have joined Life is a Sacred Journey. And because our guest was not able to make it this morning, and we hope that everything is okay with his family and that he everything that he had to work with or deal with or be challenged by this morning, that the gentle winds of peace go his way. So I want to tell you about an inaugural benefit that I am going to tonight that I am so excited about. And then we'll go into some topics, a couple of my ponderings. I woke up trying to think about what I would talk about, but I came up with something. Tonight, July 7th, from 5 to 8, there's a benefit dinner, auction, and just a wonderful fundraiser for a group called Connected Horse. Connected Horse is an organization, community of people, volunteers and people within. Judy, my good friend Judy, and the Connected Horse put this program and these workshops together based on research conducted at UC Davis and Stanford universities. And it's designed to benefit people with memory changes or early stage dementia and their care partners, okay? And they have sessions coming up July 9th, 16th, and 23rd. So those are starting this weekend. So you can sign up. Those are the ones in Pleasanton. The next are September 10, 17, and 24. And the next is October 8th, 15th, and 22nd. Judy can be reached at judy@connectedhorse.org. And her phone number is 925-708-0067. I have to tell you, there's no cost to the participants as well. However, they're always looking for donations, love offerings, but they have started coming to Alzheimer's Services of the East Bay. They have a virtual program as well. And the connection between even a virtual horse and bringing the items that are a part of a stable, the straw on the floor, the leather that is the saddle, and all of the things, and that smell of being around a horse, and then seeing one and connecting with it. And it's a one-on-one. We have, they send Valerie and other folks here to help us to connect in that way. But then when you get to go, Jade and I had the opportunity to go to one of their workshops, and I fell in love. If you follow me on Facebook, you saw me with some of the horses. One of the horses who I loved, Moon, very, very much. There was a intimate and immediate connection between my heart, my soul, and this beautiful, 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 beautiful creation of the divine. And so I'm looking forward to going to this wonderful fundraiser this evening. It's casual. I'm sure they still have tickets, so please go to the Connected Horse website if you feel like being around. And then the special guest is, I can't remember her first name. Oh my goodness. But she's one of the Carradine a part of the Carradine family, and she is a horse person, and so she's going to be there to talk about the loving nature and the therapeutic nature of horses and horse riding and being equestrian and all of those things. So tonight, benefit dinner from 5 to 8, 3 hours of getting to know new people and being engaged in the community. It is in Pleasanton, and go to the website, Connected, CONNECTED, Horse, HORSE, and you can learn more about their groundbreaking programs, and you can join us tonight. I'd love to see you there because I will be there. All right. So that's Connected Horse. Thank you, Connected Horse, for supporting people with memory loss and doing it in such a creative way and just bringing that spirit of that calming spirit of a horse to somebody who is living with dementia and possibly having a hard time connecting to the rest of the world and to their caregiver, because the calming effect is our care partner, the calming effect goes both ways. I today wanted to talk about Alzheimer's and dementia. One of the most often asked questions that people ask of me is, what do I do when my loved one is agitated and upset with me, and I can't reason with them, and they seem to just have so much angst, and I'm not connecting. And then, by trying to help them and support them, they maybe get a little physical, or they swing their arm, and it creates a whole nother level of misunderstanding between two people who probably love each other very much, right? So I'm always saying to people, it's hard to be a care partner or anyone giving of yourself to another individual, and you feel like it's not being seen, it's not being respected, it's not being noticed. There's no gratitude for it. And sometimes we feel that way when we're caring for someone living with Alzheimer's or other forms of dementia, because they are not able to control their emotional intelligence around what you're doing for them. And sometimes the agitation only comes into the chemical imbalance from the disease or the form of dementia in the brain, or the damage that's happening to the neurons in the brain, as well as how that person navigated their world. I'm a very physical, move my hands. You know that if you are a follower of Life is a Sacred Journey, if it's your first time, you're just becoming aware of that. And so I can imagine getting older and still using my body as a form of expression, and then having dementia. Not that I'm bringing that onto myself, I pray not. And then the person has dementia, and they can't control it, and it becomes more something that seems like it's meant to hurt someone else. And so, how do we get through those moments? How do we, as care partners, realize that it's not about us, and maybe, you know what, it might be about you. It might be about asking too many questions. It might be about that person really needs a moment alone. Their personal space is being invaded, and they strike out verbally or physically because so I'm not saying that you leave them in an unsafe situation, but what I'm saying is sometimes it's just like anything. People get overstimulated. People get overstimulated by a battery of questions. That's why when we hear in the legal system, those of us who are advocating for new laws around how interrogations happen with young people underage, and how interrogations happen when somebody is under a great deal of stress, you'll hear many, many times in a lot of these people who have been incarcerated and they didn't do it, is that they have been asked the same questions over and over again. 24 hours later, they were still sitting in a room. And even though we have laws to protect that, the person just wants the torment or the questioning to go away. So imagine that now from a place of dementia. I have dementia. Everything is cloudy and foggy, and I'm trying to understand what's going on. My senses are impaired. I know this person almost 80% of the time, but some of the time I slip into a space where I don't even recognize this loving face in front of me. I know this person. I feel that I do, but I don't know who they are really. And are they my wife? Are they my mother? Oh, did I have a sister? If you were always living your existence and your line of communication and your mode of communication with that chaos and that sort of second guessing all the time, it will bring you eventually, even if you didn't have dementia, to a form of confusion, chaos, depression, anxiety, and for some people, of physical acting out or verbal acting out. When we say acting out, I don't mean it in a negative sense. I mean what is demonstrated to you and to everybody around, that's what's happening for that person. They're just reacting to it, and you just happen to be in the line of fire. Okay. So what do? We get out of the line of fire. As long as the individual is safe, and sometimes appointments have to be canceled because they're just not going to happen on that day. Because the more you keep going at the person and the more you try to get them in the car, unless you know somebody that you can call that could convince them and get them out of that moment. And a lot of times that happens here. There's a person at ASAP that I'm the person. So when that person gets into that space, then I go downstairs and I'm the one that can convince that person to move into the van or move into the vehicle to go home. That doesn't mean that I have a magic wand. Well, yeah, I do actually. I do. But what it does mean is that there's something about me and that connection, that emotional connection, that makes it easier to direct the person in a different way, and they're just more amenable to listening to maybe it's the sound of my voice, or I don't know what it is. It's hard to call because it doesn't always work. There have been days that I have been called downstairs and it didn't work, and I try to examine, how did I show up? Did I show up like I was in the middle of something and they called me downstairs and I kind of brought that with me, meaning not outwardly, but inwardly? So we have to always examine what was going on before the behavior. The Alzheimer's Association teaches this, the antecedents. You want to look at it and see what's going on in the beginning prior to this change in the personality or the behavior of your loved one. Sometimes they're getting sick and they're reacting to that. Their body is reacting to that, and their ability to communicate is diminished. Bladder infections, urinary tract infections, coming down with a cold, a low-grade fever, all of those sort of medical things, a new medication that maybe has been changed, or the doses have been changed, or the medication has been changed. So you want to look at all those things. Is there something happening outside? Is the gardener down the street making so much noise that it's agitating the person that you're caring for? So all of that. Did something happen last night, or did somebody new come to visit? It's summertime. Are family coming to visit? Are there children with the visiting family? All of those things. Has that person been moved from their bedroom to another bedroom so that there's more room? And again, that's what families do. This is not a judgment thing. This is what families do. You know, I was always shifting and moving people around when family came to visit to accommodate the number of family that was visiting, so they didn't have to stay in a hotel. So those are the kinds of things that you must look at and examine, and not start with just the individual's behavior. Yes, that behavior is happening, but let's pull away from it, because that's the vortex of chaos, confusion, and anxiety. So you want to pull out of that behavior and you want to look at it and say, what's happening here really? Are you tired? Are you overwhelmed? And is that coming off? You know, and you may not be, you may be smiling. Your voice may have never reached any octave or anything, no shouting, no nothing. But it doesn't mean that the person living with dementia doesn't feel it. They are very, they move from a place of cognition where they can look at something and say 1 + 1 = this. Oh, my loved one is frowning. Oh, that means, oh, maybe they're just in deep thought. Or they may say, oh, they're frowning. Ooh, they're mad at me. Oh, I'm confused. What did I just do? I don't remember doing anything. So there's okay. So knowing that behavior is a result of the individual's disease and what is happening to them, their dis-ease with not being able to manage all the sensory stuff that's coming in. And then also, many folks in the earlier stages or in the first half of their dementia and denial of their dementia. And that denial on their part and sometimes on the care partner's behalf creates this another whirlwind of a space where it's really difficult to figure out what's going on. So I hope that helps a little bit. We will do a whole video on behaviors and we'll get that out almost like a masterclass to you guys, because a lot of people are asking, and I think it's the pandemic, people coming out of the pandemic, moving around again. It's the stress that we're coming out of the pandemic with. There's just so much going on in the world today. Coming in this morning, I had to turn off even NPR because it was just like, wow, I can't believe all this stuff is going on in the world today. And it is. And it's just very, very sad. And so you can imagine we're oversensitized now to the violence and everything that's going on. I'm going to move this candle because I want you guys to see, have some light in your life today before you leave. There we go. That's better. Yeah. So, I think that we're all whirling out of that space. So one of the spaces that I'm whirling out of, and I found it interesting last week when my granddaughter was born on the 29th. The 29th of June is also it is the anniversary of my brother's death. And so I'm a ponderer for real. That's why we call these Micheal Pope's Ponderings. And I've been thinking about that, just really thinking about that, like, wow, what does that mean when life comes on a day when life left? Like, how do you, maybe some people don't care and they don't even think about it, but I do. And I thought about it, one, because I also, being transparent, my daughter was born around in the same week that my oldest child died. So this has happened to me more than once. And so now I'm beginning to ponder it, like, what does that mean? And when something is taken away and can create so much grief and pain for a person, and then something life-affirming happens, what is that balance? What is that scale that we're being asked to ponder, to think about? And it made me think about Julie Interrante. I haven't spoken to Julie in years. It's been over, I think, 7 years or so. And she wrote this wonderful book called The Power of a Broken Open Heart, Life-Affirming Wisdom for Dying. Julie Interrante also played the wonderful flute, indigenous flute, and just love having her. I'm going to have to get back in touch with her. But this book, I pulled it out because of these ponderings and thoughts, right? And just by opening the book, I read the following. Listen to this. What if life beneath the surface were composed of a series of transitions with the potential to break open our hearts? And what if our broken open hearts could ease our approach to living? Those are questions that Julie Interrante brings up in her book and attempts to bring her spiritual mind and her thoughts to it. I love it that she talks about nature in this too, and the cycle of nature. And right now, my whole front garden area is in a cycle of neglect, right? Where the rain has tore it up, the roots are coming out. I haven't had time to go out there and give it some food. And I pray this weekend I will be doing that. But it's still alive. It's still there. It's moving and doing what it's supposed to do, but it ain't quite the same. It doesn't have that little perk. It doesn't have the life in it because it hasn't been nurtured, right? But it's also parts of it have died. Yeah, parts of it have died, which means something new needs to happen in that space. So the stuff that's dead, I'm going to have to clean it up and move it on to the compost area, and it will refuel the new thing that I plant there, the new life. Interesting. How do we look at death and life? And are they one in the same? And are they a part of the cycle? We have a gazillion books, master classes, and people talking about the importance of knowing the cycle of life, right? We have songs about it. Lion King, there's one in there, you know. But when we stop to really think about it, what does it mean to you as an individual? What does it mean to me as an individual? And when we have these synergies between life and death, where life, new life creates such joy, and you want to get up and dance, and you want to celebrate every second of that life. Every moment since 8:33 last Thursday, I have been counting down the life of my granddaughter. Just like thanking for me, God, for her, but also just like, woo, she's a week old, yay. And this is going to go on for probably a minute or two, right? I don't know. You grandparents out there, you write in the chat. Let me know, how long am I going to be so enamored? Because I'm enamored beyond, I'm a mess, right? Okay. But when we think about life, when we think about the human cycle, when we think about nature, when we think about what has to happen in order for life to begin, it doesn't mean we ever will accept death. I will always, till the day I take my last breath, miss my brother, mourn my brother, miss my alpha dog, mourn alpha. You know, some people say, you know, how ridiculous that is. And I see people's eyes when they realize that when I speak of alpha, that alpha is a dog, and how immature they think I am. But I'm at a wonderful age that it doesn't matter, because I know what he meant to me. And so it's important that for me to mourn him, to know that a life was given and a life was taken away. And that's what I love about our indigenous brothers and sisters on our planet. They get it. And I want to thank them all for, teaching me, loving me through, because I had to learn some things, and Dwight and all of, yes. Thank you for teaching me to love the forest, to love the trees, to understand the cycle of life, to understand the power of dirt. You know, the power of dirt. From dust you can, don't let me get started, okay? But how magnificent dirt is, that it can create food for us to eat. It can create beauty for us to see. And that in it there's microorganisms that are creating life and food and nutrition and giving and taking and giving and taking. I mean, whoa. It's just like going to Connected Horse tonight. I'm pointing at this, by the way. Going to Connected Horse, I'm thinking about horses. You know, it's like when they were chasing the wild horses. I don't know how long ago that was. It's been a while, but that was one of my big social justice moments around horses and them chasing them and actually turning them into food, which I found out about. I was like, oh, no, you can't do that. Stop that. because they're life. And while someone said, well, they were giving the food, but you know what? No, I don't think so. So we all have to think about that balance between life and death, between the winter season and the new beginnings of our lives. And we have to embrace it in a way that helps us to navigate a sacred journey, which is each and every one of our existences. It is sacred. And when you begin to understand how sacred it is, the connection opens up for you. And you begin to look at people differently. An example, I'm moving into another pondering here, friends. I'm having a visceral reaction to the word colonizer and colonization. And the reason I am is because it's become another, like one of those buzzwords or concepts that all of a sudden everybody wants to use without understanding impact. Just everybody. Oh, the colonizer. And then the very individuals that from an opposite race that are using that paradigm are performing colonizer acts in deed, thought, words. And so it's like looking at, I don't know. It's like looking at something and going, wait a minute, but you just did a colonizing thing. So how are you calling a system colonization when you are performing colonizer behavior, colonizer words, colonizer concepts right here and now in this particular situation? I've been pondering that. And again, not putting finger, but just to say, we need to think a little bit about what we're saying and what we're doing and understanding that this is not a moment to show, I don't know what it is. I don't know what's making me feel this way. So if any of you are understanding what I'm saying and have any thoughts on this whole concept of like somebody who would be recognized, who is fighting against colonization, but yet the very thing that they say they're fighting against, they are behaving in the same manner. And what is that? What is that little switch in us that makes us fighters for something, but not recognize that we're performing that very same thing that we're saying that we're against? We're doing it. We're doing it ourselves. So I've done it. We've all done it. We're human. But how do we get from doing that and stop using the word of the moment, the word, like on my computer, I have word of the day, because I love words. So I'm always trying to learn new words, not learn new words, but reacquaint myself with them and their meaning. And so here we go. And so we just, today's word is colonizer. Okay, people, let's go out there and use that word and we're going to feel better about ourselves. Oh, wow. No, we're not going to feel better about ourselves because we're still not doing the work. We're still not doing the work. When I can be in a meeting with the years of experience that I have, whether it's at the church or here at ASAB, and someone of another race is continually reanalyzing my thoughts, telling me what I said, rephrasing it, or even ignoring what I said, and then saying it themselves, and everybody applauds and acts like it's a grand idea, a grand statement, but yet speak up for diversity and all of those things. That's scary, because that means we haven't learned the doggone thing. The only thing we've learned to do is to become parrots. Parrots of movement do not push the movement forward. And we are trying to push a movement forward of inclusiveness, of all people in a world that every person has contributed to, particularly in America, when we talk about Black Americans, right? We negate the contributions. So I just think we need to talk a little bit more and learn from each other instead of, just raising our flag and acting like we believe in something because it's the flavor of the month. Just like at Cream, you can only get Ubu, I think I said it right, or Uba, ice cream during a certain period of time in the summer. So I eat a lot of it during that time of the summer. But the rest of the time, it's not around. So I can't partake of it. We can't do that around homophobia and ageism and racism and sexism and ableism. We can't do that where we just, because we've done it by saying, this month, we're going to practice learning African-American history in February. And then we're going to remember the Alzheimer's people in November. And then we're going to, come on. Those things are great because I have a birthday once a year and I want to remember my birthday every year and I want others to remember it. So we should have annual celebrations or recognition or acknowledgement. But if that's the only time that we're going to do it and act like we're all kumbaya, we're all good people together, then we've missed the mark. Because we should have objectives from year to year for those things, so that if we're talking about colonization, then we can say, okay, but over the last 12 months from when we had this conversation, these are the things that I've done. This is how I've worked on myself. This is what I see that I needed to change. This is what I'm letting go. And then you can say a year later, there's something new happening. There's something fascinating happening. There's change. And we don't have to just hang our hats on these words and these concepts and act like we've arrived because we're not doing anything. There's no action. So that's my pondering around. And again, you can tell something must have happened this week or last week. And it did. And it's a pondering that I had. But I wanted to share it with you. And please write in the comment section, let's not be a beater upper. So don't beat me up for my thoughts, because I won't beat you up for your thoughts. But I think it's really important that we have continued conversation around these things that we so greatly talk about, but yet are not moving into changing anything. Because if that was the case, it wouldn't have been so easy for this affirmative action thing that just happened, because the comment of the playing field has been leveled. And the reality is, like I say all the time, I don't know why we still possibly need, we just talked about it. We need it because we haven't changed. And affirmative action, contrary to what some people believe, does not mean that the person doesn't have to have good grades or write a good essay or all that stuff. It just means when the applications are looked at and everybody's application is leveled out based on their GPA and their great writing skills, and if they have an impact and have been impacted by their race and they write about it, that the school is going to look at that a little bit and say, whoa, what can we do? But affirmative action doesn't mean like somebody wrote, I saw somebody write somewhere, oh, they're just trying to make it so people who are dummies can. Well, first of all, I don't know of too many dummies that graduate from high school with more than 4.0 averages. I'm seeing so many of them these days, and they are not just Caucasian young people, but they're people of color and people all over the world. I mean, that's not an anomaly. There's smart people everywhere. Education system is something that we should look at then if we think that people aren't graduating from our school systems with enough education to make it in this world. I'm a product of public school back in the day. I don't know how I feel about public schools anymore after now having two children that went through a public school system, and then the school changed the way it did things, and I don't know about that either. So all of the things that we're doing, we need to examine and stop having knee-jerk reactions to things because we're afraid. That's what it really comes down to, is that we're afraid. We're afraid of each other. We're afraid of losing our bandwidth. We're afraid. We live in so much fear that now we have more guns on the street. We have people in their phones calling the police because somebody is in their neighborhood, in their store that they call their store, because they think their neighborhood is one thing and it's not. And all this stuff, it's too much. And in order to create change in the world, we have to be the change we want to see. And so we need to think differently, and we need to present differently, and we need to come out into the world differently on a day-to-day basis. So before I close, I want to read to you. The book is called One. And it talks about hope, this particular piece. And these are questions that I have for you. What does hope feel like? When you think about hope, when you give hope, when you receive hope, what does hope feel like? What does courage sound like? Martin Luther King, 12 days before he was murdered, 12 days before he was murdered, gave a more important speech, gave an additional speech to I Have a Dream that many of us have never heard. I have. I listen to it often. That's what courage sounds like. Being able to make a shift in your thinking and understanding and being willing to verbalize it. That's courage. What does courage sound like? What does action look like? What does action look like? If we want to make a change in the world, what do our actions, what do my actions have to be in order to push the needle a little bit? And how do things ever get better? I don't have the answers to those questions. But what I do know is that this is a sacred journey that we are all on. We don't get to do it twice. Sometimes we don't even get to go back and apologize for the pain and hurt that each of us as individuals have inflicted, not only on others, but even on ourselves. But we have an opportunity to change every single day. Takes time. Excuse me. Old habits die hard. But being conscious and living in your conscious spirit, your mind, your heart, every place, being quiet, having the willingness to be courageous and to be hope for somebody else. That's what makes life a sacred journey. So as you go out to the weekend, it is Friday, be hope for somebody else. Be courageous for somebody else. Lean in and be into action for somebody else. And it'll change your life, I promise you, because it's the only way to go. Anything else, it's no fun. It's no fun. In a couple of weeks, I will be visiting, just so that you know, Better Place Forest to visit my tree. I've made an appointment. I plan to take you along with me. I do not know if I will be able to, because I don't know what the reception is up there, but I plan to take you on that journey with me. So look out for that. I'll give Felicia the date. So it's not a Friday. So I don't remember. It's a Saturday. So it'll be a pop-up when I go to visit my tree. So I'll take you along to Better Place Forest and you'll get to visit my tree. Yay. All right. So folks, it's going to be a beautiful weekend only because we are beautiful people walking this planet, and we're going to do our best to just be beautiful all weekend long, mind, body, and spirit. But if you're someone out there right this very second that is feeling, I don't know, detached, anxiety, depression, and you're feeling like, you know, the world would be better off without me, there's no sunshine with me and I'm not feeling it, then get a phone and text or call 988, which is the suicide hotline number. We end our podcasts or broadcasts or time together every week that way, because had it not been for the love of somebody in my life, I might not be here today. And I am. And I am here because I care about you. So 988 is the suicide hotline number. I have heard that they have gotten more volunteers, still need some more trained volunteers. They're trying really hard to not keep you on the line for a long time, but don't give up. Don't give up on 988, because the people on the other line, on the other side of the call, will help you the best they can, get you the resources you need in whatever community you are living and going through this experience. Okay? So we love you here at Life is a Sacred Journey. Your life matters to us, and we wish you nothing but wonderful, wonderful connections throughout the world, throughout the weekend. Get out there and do something fun. Say hi to a stranger, even if they look like they aren't gonna say hi back. Who cares? Say hi, say good morning, say how you doing. Smile at somebody even through your mask, because you now know they know you're smiling at them, right? So I want to thank all of you who come back to Life is a Sacred Journey every Friday at 8 a.m. Please hit the share button and subscribe and all those things that you've been doing a lot of lately. So please do that and share with someone else and subscribe so that we can, I don't know how that all works, but so that all those numbers and things that support what we're doing happen. So have a great weekend. Go out and pet a cat, pet a dog, go for a walk, and hug a tree. But be the best you that you can be, and know, and know, and know, and know. It's always just putting one foot in front of the other. And as they said, put one foot in front of the other, and soon you'll be across the floor. All right, you guys, have a wonderful weekend. And my name is Micheal Pope, and you have just joined Life is a Sacred Journey. Peace. Oh, one finger. Peace. Bye.